Hey everyone, I hope everyone is doing well. Today we're going to be resuming our dungeon speedrun breakdown series with Duality. Now I actually took a pause on this series because I was making other content and because there was a team running Duality at the time that I wanted to give some time to so they can get a run and I could break down a more modern version of this run. Unfortunately, circumstances came up and that team stopped running, so I decided I may as well just continue the train here. We're going to be watching Gab, Crow, and Array, recurring cast of characters on this channel when it comes to dungeon speedruns, and we're going to be going over a 6:45 fire team Duality. Times have changed and there's new stuff in the meta now, so that team that was going for a low 6 Duality, so like a 6-0x, 6-1x, I will go over the things that have changed in the meta since then for this specific dungeon, whether it's class comp, weapons, skips, strategies, all that sort of thing at the end of the video, okay? But we're going to go ahead and get started with Crow's POV, which I've downloaded right over here. And as you guys are probably aware, if you've watched this channel before, I like to go over class composition before we actually watch the video. So let's go ahead and start with class comp, okay? So first up, we have 2 Warlocks and 1 Titan in this dungeon. And those of you that have watched this channel before, you probably know why the Titan is there, but let's go ahead and get started with the Warlocks. So Warlock number 1 is here for a specific reason. The first reason is because Warlock is the only class that's able to generate Lumina noble rounds out of thin air using Boots of the Assembler. And so that can be very helpful because they want a Lumina grapple without having to kill any adds. So Lumina is number 1. And then number 2, the same Warlock is going to do a skip called 2-3. which basically allows them to skip from the vault encounter to the Caiatl encounter, and having a well for well skating and heat rises can be very helpful for that, which you'll see in the future. Now Warlock number 2, which is going to be Array in this run, does a different skip. It's going to be called 1-2, and that is the skip from, of course, Gahlran to vault, which is also nice to have heat rises for because there's a checkpoint you need to hit in the air, and having heat rises to kind of float at that elevation can be very nice, okay? And then finally, the Titan, which I'm sure you guys are aware why that's here. But around this time, Strand Titan was, I believe, pre-nerf. So Banner of War was running rampant in dungeons, and people were using grapple melees for a lot of bosses. And Titan on Worm Gods was just a really good way to do consistent damage to Gahlran, especially without having to use heavy ammo. So I'm just going to write Strand here. That is why the Titan is in this particular run. And the Titan in this run is, of course, Gab. Okay, so with this in mind, let's go ahead and move on and watch this 6:45 Duality, starting with Crow's POV. So right off the rip here, you hear the go call and the timer starts, and you'll see a Boots of the Assembler rift come out from Crow. Because he has teammates in his fire team, it's actually going to generate these noble rounds. They're going to come back to him. The second he starts getting noble rounds here, he is going to wait and he's going to go forward, and they trigger the voice line, of course, from Eris here. And they're going to do something called pre-dropping, which basically means if you know when a surface below you, like a plate below you, is going to disappear and allow you to drop, you can enter it with some downward velocity by pre-dropping, like pre-jumping, when you know it's going to open. So instead of going from a, standing still state and falling, you get to jump, and then as it opens and becomes, transparent or whatever, you are already falling, so you have some velocity that you carry into that drop. So if you've ever seen a Last Wish speedrun, they do the same thing on Riven plates. They jump at a specific time when they know the plate's about to open, and then as the plate opens, they fall through the plate, so they already have some additional velocity, and they can start falling, at an earlier time. So you'll see here, they do kind of the same thing here. They don't jump, but they kind of just walk off of this upward kind of platform here, these little beams. And you'll see here in just a second that the plate's going to open, and then boom. So they have a little bit of pre-drop velocity here. Crow is going to go ahead and shoot this bell to bring his teammates in. He's going to soar to kind of fall on the ground at a very stable position. His teammates are behind him on Strand as well here, and they're going to grapple to him. He's going to Lumina grapple right here. Nice diagonal Lumina grapple. And his teammates are, as you can see on his radar, just kind of behind him in tow. He's going to wait for his teammates to get on the plate. He's going to shoot. And you'll see here that Array is lagging behind here to shoot the bell behind him, so he can fall and not have to worry about shooting that himself. And then Crow is going to make his way to this bell over here. Once again, he's going to wait for his teammates. They're here with him, and then boom. During this drop, I think all 3 players, maybe except for Gab, I know Crow and Array, they both swapped to Xenophage here. And using Xenophage, they're just going to clear this entire room so that the kind of metal door in the middle opens. So Crow here, he's going to take care of the Colossus as well as the adds that spawn on right side. And all the adds are dead now. And they're going to do another thing here, pretty much the same thing where they kind of pre-drop as well. One person, that's going to be Array, Phoenix dive, so he can shoot the bell as early as possible to start Gahlran, and we're already done with entrance. Okay, so for Gahlran in particular, at the start of Gahlran, they're going to do something called a temp perma. Okay, so we've talked about perma flags on this channel before. Basically, if you place a flag after an encounter tries to erase flags from the game, from the encounter, it'll stay in the encounter indefinitely. Obviously, you can still only rally to it once, but it'll be there for the rest of the encounter. Now, in some encounters, right, the erase check for flags is late enough that you can place a perma flag, but the flag will still disappear, but it takes like a couple seconds, right? So what Array is going to do here in combination with Gab is Array is going to shoot the bell, and that's going to, after a short delay, teleport everybody into the Nightmare Realm. And so Gab is actually going to place a flag, and it's going to be a delayed animation. So as he gets teleported, he's going to actually be able to place the flag, and the flag, you see that rally prompt, it's going to be there, and then it's going to disappear. Okay, so that's what a temp perma flag is. Kind of a weird way of saying things, a bit of an oxymoron there, temp perma. But basically, it just means it's a perma flag, so it's a flag that persists longer than normal, but it still goes away after some time. So this is technically like the fastest way to start the encounter, because you are in fact shooting the bell pretty fast, but it still allows you to rally without kind of like going into the encounter without any ammo, right? And then so Gahlran is pretty straightforward. Crow here is rallied on Bequest. The damage strategy in this specific encounter has changed since then. But yeah, Crow's rallied on Surrounded Bequest. And the way they do standards here is they just split one left, one right. Crow gets this kind of top left standard. Array kills the bottom Bellkeepers. And the RNG in this encounter doesn't actually matter that much in 3-man. It's much more annoying in maybe solo. But in 3-man, it's not too bad. You know, you just go one left, one right. Pretty straightforward. And Array here is going to leave on a skip. We're going to go to his POV after we look at Gahlran damage. But for now, let's go ahead and keep looking at Gahlran. So here you see Crow. He's going to go ahead and dunk his axes right on this standard here. Then he's going to turn around. And in just a second here, when the Bellkeeper spawns, he is going to kill him with Ariana. Shoot the bell. He's going to head in because Gab is ready. He's going to use his Wastelander here to one-shot all these shades. A little slow on that last one, but it's all good. And now he's going to swap to Navigator, and you know what's coming, right? Gab is going to do some Strand Titan DPS to Gahlran here. Gab is, of course, on Tractor. And this was pre the weapon buffs being on the bottom left corner of your screen. Now it's on the left side. Buff timers, of course, being overridden here. But Crow is, in fact, on Surrounded. He is just going to be shooting this guy. And he's also... interesting note here, he's also on Cenotaph, right? He's on Cenotaph, so he marked Gahlran here. So the Gab, because Gab's on Tractor, he's going to want to swap to a sword for Vault. So this is going to help Gab have a little bit more heavy ammo. And it's also going to give Crow a little bit of special as well, because Gab is the one that deals the killing blow. And you see here at the end of Gahlran, Crow Phoenix dives down, because there's actually a checkpoint down here that needs to be hit in order to trigger the Vault start objective. Okay? So Phoenix dives down, pretty straightforward. And of course, the reason he's on Surrounded Bequest is mostly for ammo reasons, okay? Because he wants a lot of sword ammo going into the next encounter. Okay, so that's it for Crow's POV for now. We're going to go ahead and look at Array's POV next. So let's go ahead and pull up Array's POV, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what he does during Gahlran, at the end of Gahlran, that is. So he's going to go ahead and kill these bottom Bellkeepers while Crow and Gab are getting their standards. He's going to head over, and you'll notice here that he is standing just outside of this bell radius. Okay, so he's not going to die here. What he actually does is, as soon as the bell gets shot, he walks backward and starts running into this wall. Okay, and so the way the Nightmare Realm works and the normal realm works is that obviously they have different coordinate systems that kind of are transposed and have these kind of like translated coordinates to each other, right? So you have, if one position is 0, 0 in the Nightmare Realm, that corresponds to another location that would be 0, 0 in the normal realm. And so if you walk forward here, normally there are these stairs here that jut out in the normal realm like this, right? And the underside of these stairs is hollow. And so Array, what he's doing here is he's using this fact so that when he gets sent back to the normal realm, if he walks forward here and he doesn't die to like the bell like killing him, watch this. He's going to walk forward and then boom, he's under the stairs and he's OoB, right? So pretty interesting using an actual dungeon mechanic to get OoB in a clever location where you know that the map geometry differs a little bit, right? So let's go ahead and watch Array do a skip here. He's going to drop down in a specific area to hit a load zone called Ever Downward. That's going to be, making his way to the vault encounter. And he's also trying to avoid some kind of death barriers that are out of bounds here. He's going to line in a specific location here, use his dash to kind of extend his glide distance. He's going to make his way down here. He's going to pop He Rises to have even more glide. And then finally, he's going to sword his way into the vault encounter, just barely making it out of that turn back before it hits 0 and eventually kills him. So he's going to rally here because the flag prompt is already here. And now he's going to do another well bounce, right? Or I shouldn't say another, but he's going to do a well bounce here. And he's going to stand and float here with He Rises. And he knows his team is going to kill Gahlran before his He Rises ends, so he's going to sit here and he's just going to wait. And there's a checkpoint at the bottom, or I guess the ceiling of this encounter / the bottom of the tube leading to this encounter that needs to be hit if you want to start vault. You can't just start vault by sitting there. So Array, he's just going to float here. He's going to wait for his teammates to finish the Gahlran encounter. He's going to sit here and he's going to jump off this little ledge here and he's going to drop down, and that's going to start the vault encounter. And obviously he's already rallied. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. Bell usage to go OoB, bounce to hit the checkpoint. He's going to kill these Bellkeepers, and the second that bell opens and his teammates are ready, he's going to shoot. He's going to call out, the correct locations. And this is pretty cool, right? All of them have these specific lineups to line off of specific objects, bounce into walls or go around walls in order to reach certain destinations. So pretty cool. He's going to use a sword to kill this Colossus here. And Ariana's Vow makes a feature in this dungeon. Even before the rework, it's an anti-barrier weapon that one-shots Cabal to the body, which is really, really helpful. So he's just going to use Ariana's Vow to one-shot all of these Cabal that he needs to kill. After he kills a certain number of them, he's going to get a standard bearer to spawn. He's going to go ahead and kill it. And Crow is doing essentially the same thing on the other side of the map. So Crow and Array, they're both getting the standards. Gab is in the middle, killing the Bellkeepers required to open the bell so that they can go back to the normal realm. And you'll see here Crow and Array, they just have these well lineups here. He's going to well skate to the bell. Crow's going to land after him, and they're going to shoot it, and they're going to dunk. Okay, so damage is done very differently these days to these bosses compared to how it is now. Or compared to how it is, in this specific video. Crow and Array are actually both on Cenotaph Mask here. And this was back when Cenotaph stacked, I believe, because obviously Cenotaph, you can only have one mark on a target at a time now. But both of them are just going to mark this mini-boss. Crow's going to help out a little bit using Imperial Decree with Trench Barrel, but most of the damage is expected to be done by Gab, who is, of course, on Strand Titan. He's just going to grapple melee this fella a bunch. And Array is going to kill these Bellkeepers to get ready for the next set of the encounter. He's going to swap to a different loadout here. Well skate off the stairs. And then boom, same thing. Ariana. Pretty straightforward. Another thing that these guys do that I'm not sure Array does in his POV. Yeah, but what you can do here is you can cross shoot the Colossus on the opposite side, getting ready for the next cycle. So if you want to, for example, like use a lot of people use recombination succession in this encounter because you do a lot of burst damage with it after getting kills with Ariana. But you can basically, while you're waiting for this guy to spawn in, shoot the top left Colossus, I guess it would be in this case, in order to save time so that if someone would, either you or someone else comes there the next time, the Colossus is already going to be dead and doesn't need to be killed to spawn in the standard bear. So you see that Colossus right there. Like you could kill that if you had some time. So that is something these guys do sometimes. I think Crow does it in his POV if you want to watch that. But yeah, pretty straightforward. Second round here. And yeah, this is basically it for Vault. I'm going to actually swap over to Crow's POV now because Crow leaves on a skip. The rest of these players, all you need to know is that after Vault ends and the Vault door opens, you need to sword forward a little bit to this kind of golden light area because there is a checkpoint there after the encounter that needs to be hit in order to progress the dungeon, just like how Crow dropped down with Phoenix Dive after Gahlran was over. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to Crow's POV, and we're going to watch what he does at the end of Vault. Okay, so here you can see he's helping out with Trench Barrel, DPS a little bit. He's going to go ahead and line. I'm going to skip past this area a little bit. I believe this is the second round, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to mark this guy. And, oh, okay, I've skipped a little too far. Sorry about that. Okay, so they have just come back from the Nightmare Realm for the second time, right? And so what he's going to do is something called early 2-3. So he's going to do the transition to the third encounter, Caiatl. And he's also going to hit a checkpoint in between this encounter and Caiatl. I'm not talking about the one where you drop down. There's also another checkpoint, an intermediate checkpoint that needs to be hit as well. So yeah, Crow, he's going to mark that guy. He's going to ground line. And he gets joining allies here. And So something important to know about this encounter is that for whatever reason, at some point, I think around 2 years ago, they changed this dungeon so that you get joining allies infinitely when you leave this encounter. However, people found out that if you kill Bellkeepers, it actually gets rid of your joining before you enter a new realm. And so what his teammates are doing here, if you watch their POVs, I'm not going to show you this, but they just killed the Bellkeeper. It says a bell is ready to be rung. That gets rid of his joining allies, but the joining allies comes back when they enter the Nightmare Realm for the, when they come back from the Nightmare Realm for the 3rd time. Okay, so in order to make sure that Crow doesn't get joining, they kill an extra set of Bellkeepers after coming back from the Nightmare Realm for the 3rd time, even though obviously you don't need another bell after you come back from the Nightmare Realm for the 3rd time, because that is the final phase. So Crow here, he's going to go ahead and line. The reason why he's lining this way, by the way, is there is a big barrier here that you need to line around, right? So he's kind of doing sort of like this motion, like this, right? And obviously the encounter and stuff is like over here. He's kind of going outward and then he's going inward because there's a big barrier like here that he needs to avoid. Okay, so that's why he's going all the way out here, all the way out at the turn back, and then he's going to kind of line diagonally or like sword diagonally back in. Always nice seeing that lovely little cenotaph helmet on the transition. Looks pretty funny. And now he's going to line again, and now he's going to hit the next load zone here for the 2-3 transition. The depths, of course. He's going to line one more time. And basically, Crow does something a little bit interesting here. You don't see this in most runs. Most of the time in speedrunning, you know, skips and transitions, there's no intermediate checkpoints for the most part, or you just kind of do it from front to back. What Crow's actually going to do here is, because he has basically no ammo for Caiatl, he's going to drop down, he's going to place a flag for himself. He's going to, you know, rally on Fellwinter's helm and full ammo and all that stuff. And then he's going to actually use his remaining He Rises to bounce back up, right? Which is already pretty interesting. He's going to bounce back up and then he's going to backtrack. Okay, so he's going to backtrack and you'll see Vault just ended there. So there's a new objective. His teammates are currently dropping down and they're sorting forward to that golden light area to hit that chest. Not that chest, but that objective, right? That checkpoint. And Crow's going to go back here. And once that checkpoint has been hit, then he needs to hit this one. This checkpoint is not retroactive. So the second that Vault end checkpoint has been hit in the hallway after Vault, he's going to come back over here and he's going to wait because there's another checkpoint at the bottom of this little ramp metal tube area. So he's going to sit here. He's going to wait for his teammates to hit that checkpoint. They just hit it because you can see that objective disappear. And now Crow hits this checkpoint and then he does this part of the transition again, right? So pretty interesting stuff here. And I believe the Caiatl start checkpoint is retroactive, which is why you see he gets joining allies the second he enters this area, right? Because the game knows someone's already been down here. And so it kind of just starts the encounter. So you can see here, Crow just Phoenix dives down and boom, we are in Caiatl. Okay, so Caiatl, pretty chill encounter, right? The Crow's just going to go ahead and kill the Bellkeepers. He's going to open the bell for his teammates. His teammates are actually, after they get joining, they're just going to spawn in the Nightmare Realm because joining is 11 seconds long. Crow has easily killed these Bellkeepers and shot the bell like within that 11-second period. So when his teammates get joining, they're actually going to spawn in the Nightmare Realm. He's going to kill one of these guys. And if you get the chance to see here, you'll see in just a second. Maybe not in this one. Yeah. So an interesting strategy is I don't think there's any dungeon or any speedrun in general where I've ever seen Lorentz driver being used. But there was a trend for a while in this dungeon with Duality speedruns where because of the, I think, Clawtivity team, people just used Lorentz driver in this encounter because it was good for shooting the backpacks. It would like, you know, dematerialize the Bellkeepers, and it would, if you headshot one of the Bellkeepers or backshot, I suppose, one of the Bellkeepers, it would blow up the other one as well very, very easily. So, you know, people just use Lorentz driver in this encounter. It was like a thing, which is pretty funny. You'll probably see it from Crow's POV in a second here. Yeah, you see those? You'll see that. Yeah, Array just shoots that with Lorentz driver. You can see the explosion there. And so we're already done like the second set of mechanics here. You're going to see the chain be broken in just a second here. Crow healing nades himself and places his well because he doesn't need his well for this next bit. He's going to go ahead and just start pre-stacking his parasite by killing these orange bars. He's going to kill all these Bellkeepers except for this one. And the reason why he doesn't kill that one is because he's waiting to see which direction Caiatl goes in, right? If Caiatl goes mid, he needs that Bellkeeper because he's going to finisher that Bellkeeper for Fellwinter debuff. But because Caiatl starts walking right, he's going to weaken this one instead. He's going to wait for Caiatl to approach. He's going to finisher. He's going to swap to Rain of Fire for DPS. And then he's going to start damage, right? He just gets the bell just in time to get that Waking Resonance buff. And he is, of course, on Parasite and Rain of Fire with double pellet shotguns, which is, you know, Pretty interesting combination here. Obviously, Parasite's Worm byproduct buffs the shotgun damage because they are the the other two weapons that you have that are not Parasite, boosted by 15%. Pretty cool stuff. And his teammates are basically doing the same thing, right? They're basically also doing Parasite double shotgun. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I believe the Titan is using something else, maybe on T-Crash. I could be wrong. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Duality. If you guys are interested in seeing Gab's POV, the third POV, I'll link the speedrun.com link to this run in the description. Obviously, this was quite a while ago, so I will also go over some of the other changes that have occurred in this dungeon since then. Okay, so there's like about 8 or 9 changes. So the first change, right, is that at the start of the dungeon, right, the very, very start of the dungeon, you run actually 2 Hunter and 1 Warlock now. And the reason for that is because you don't really need a Lumina grapple Warlock in this dungeon anymore. There is a new tech that was found semi-recently, I think by Seiyun actually, one of my Wish teammates, called Mountaintop Ascension. And the way that it works is you mountaintop yourself and then, well, yeah, obviously, but the way that it works is you want to mountaintop the ground at the apex of your jump, right? And then you instantly ascension, which is a bit weird because normally when you mountaintop, you jump and then you instantly mountaintop, and that's what gives you the most height. But for whatever reason, this tech only sends you crazy high if you mountaintop after the apex of your jump. So you reach the apex of your jump, you mountaintop, and then you instantly ascension. And for whatever reason, that sends you flying upward high enough that it's actually usable for this dungeon's entrance in that stretch after you shoot the bell initially when you get teleported in from Eris, when they did the Lumina grapple. Instead, you would just have both your hunters mountaintop ascension, and then I assume your Warlock would probably like grapple to one of them or something like that, because Warlock doesn't have access to like an insanely vertical movement tech like that without a well. Okay? So that is it for the class comp, and then obviously these 2 hunters can do both Goldie, so Celestial Nighthawk with Limit Break, which is crazy good this season, and then they also do grapple melee damage to the boss as well. Okay, I believe the ad clear section before Gahlran, so let's go ahead and skip there real quick. Yeah, so this section right here, I believe the middle ads are killed using Gahlran, right? I believe the Colossus here is killed using Icebreaker, which is pretty interesting, but I guess that allows you to stay on a sword, which is kind of nice. And then I believe Trinity is also used somewhere here as well. Okay, so a bit of a 3 exotic split instead of using kind of just mainly Xenophage. So, pretty cool stuff there. And then for Vault, so for these mini bosses that you fight during Vault, so I guess in Crow's POV, you're not really going to see that for the most part because Gab is really taking care of this guy. But instead of having 2 supportive roles that are making, Cenotaph ammo for Gab, what's actually going on here is you have 2 hunters now, right? You have 2 hunters and 1 warlock. It's a mix of 3 exotic weapons. You have Tessellation, right? So Tessellation is obviously very good burst damage, and with Particle, it's going to do a lot of damage without Tractor being present on this boss. So Tessellation, allows everyone to be on a sword. Also, Merciless, right? And you can kind of tell there's like a bit of a theme here because Particle Reconstruction is a mod this season. And then also Bastion with a Disruption Break GL, right? So I'm just going to write DB actually, just to save some time. So Disruption Break GL, if you guys don't know, all of these Vault mini bosses have elemental shields. And so breaking their shields with Disruption Break will make a kinetic weapon like Bastion do a lot more damage. So pretty interesting stuff there, but you'll notice the main thing is all special weapons. And that's going to allow all of these players to be on swords and not have to mark with Cenotaph to make ammo. Okay. Next, the other thing that I want to talk about is, how this roll, right? What is it called? This roll, Crow's roll, the one that does this skip, right? And then has to hit this checkpoint in the depths encounter at the bottom of the tube. I believe this checkpoint or the one before it is now hit from out of bounds. And remember how during our grass breakdown, which I believe was 1 or 2 breakdowns ago, in our grass breakdown, we did this thing or not we, but the people that we were watching, they did this cool thing called a death to load during the joining allies portion of the transition, right? So after they filled up the bank with motes and they kind of did this little bit of entrance to get to the first encounter, or not first encounter, but to get to the ogre, they did this death to load, and basically when they death to loaded during joining, it instantly spawned them in to the next encounter, into the ogre encounter, right? If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the grass breakdown. There's a section where I talk about it, but it looks really cool. Basically, a death to load in Destiny is like a special kind of way of hitting a load zone where the load zone instantly kills you, right? But it has special properties. It doesn't just kill you. For certain speedrun tech, right, it's used for setting up certain conditions that will allow you to skip or set your spawn in a certain way. All you need to know is that hitting a death to load while joining allies is happening. Like, and if the load zone that you're hitting the death to load to is the load zone that is pulling you, right? So in this case, you'd be hitting the Caiatl load zone from the vault load zone while the Caiatl load zone is pulling you, right? So the Caiatl, you're getting Caiatl joining, and then you death to load into Caiatl. It'll just instantly spawn you into the Caiatl encounter, right? So that's pretty cool. So we have like a separate role now, or not we, but we have a separate role now that does part of the transition and hits this checkpoint from out of bounds, and then they instantly death to load to the next encounter, and that way you can have someone in Caiatl right away, but you also have someone else that can, like, TP and help out as well. So an interesting, maybe a more optimal skip distribution of players here. And then I believe people are on Icebreaker for Caiatl. So during the Caiatl section here, instead of being on Lorenz driver, people are on Icebreaker to regenerate ammo. Icebreaker is low-key a good shout because it is one of the most ammo efficient ways of generating ammo, because you can get 10 in Icebreaker pretty quickly using its exotic perk. And 10 Icebreaker and you swap it to a different special, you basically have full special, right? So pretty strong stuff there. And then for Caiatl actual damage, they use Still Hunt. Right, they use Still Hunt Hunters. The Warlock places their well in Sanguine swaps and uses Queenbreaker. And so the kill is a little bit faster. It's still a 1 bell, obviously, but the kill is a little bit faster. And you can stack Still Hunt off the Bellkeepers, or you can stack it off Caiatl while she's walking to the actual bell for damage. And one last thing that I actually didn't know you could do. These guys actually shoot the left and right bell when Caiatl isn't there. So they instantly shoot left and right bell to force her to walk to mid, which I believe is the fastest bell to do damage from. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff. Yeah, I think that team was running for like a 6-0x, like a 609, 608 or something like that. They had like a 6-1x, but unfortunately, circumstances came up. So they, they're kind of done running for now. But yeah, if you're curious about the changes to this dungeon since, a year and a half ago, that is what changed. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. I believe it's going to be like Spire next or something like that, which is a much shorter run than this one, but still going to be just as interesting. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about that, and enjoy farming Right of the Nine. I'll see you around.